What if the monsters were never the biggest danger and from? What if the real mistake is surviving the night? Everyone believes sunrise means safety. The creatures disappear. Doors open. People breathe again. Life starts over. But what if the town has trained everyone to believe a lie? Because if you look carefully, From has never actually proven that daylight is safe. It has only proven that the monsters stop hunting. Those are not the same thing. And here's the terrifying possibility. What if anyone who stays outside after sunrise for too long slowly becomes part of the town itself? Not killed. Not attacked. Changed. At first that sounds impossible. After all, we've seen people walking around during the day countless times. They gather food. They search the forest. They build shelters. Nothing immediately happens. But this is exactly why the theory is so dangerous. The town never works quickly. It changes people slowly. It waits. It watches. And then, one day, the person you've always known isn't the same anymore. But here's what changes everything. The show constantly teaches us to focus on the monsters. Every terrifying night distracts us from asking a much more important question. What is the town doing while the sun is up? That's not the real mystery. The real mystery is why every major psychological change in the series happens during the daytime. Think about it. People don't just wake up after terrifying nights and recover. Instead, the daylight becomes the beginning of something worse. People hear voices. They see impossible visions. They become obsessed. They make decisions they never would have made before. Almost every major breakdown starts after sunrise. Coincidence? Or exactly how the town wants it? Look at what the show is actually telling us. The monsters hunt with fear. The town hunts with time. Those are completely different weapons. One attacks your body. The other attacks your mind. And minds take much longer to break. This is the detail everyone missed. Whenever characters spend long periods wandering outside during the day, they rarely come back unchanged. Not because they were attacked. Because they were exposed. Exposed to something we still can't see. The forest isn't just filled with trees. It's filled with influence. An invisible pressure that grows stronger the longer someone remains inside the town's natural world. Notice how often characters suddenly stop thinking logically after extended trips through the woods. They become distracted. They follow strange sounds. They chase voices. They trust impossible visions. It's almost as if the environment itself is rewriting their decisions. And this is where it gets darker. We've always assumed the monsters are the town soldiers. But what if they're only the cleanup crew? Their job is simple. Remove anyone who refuses to change. The real transformation happens in daylight. Because daylight creates believers. Night eliminates survivors. Think about Victor. He has spent more time outside than almost anyone alive. For decades, he walked through forests, empty streets, abandoned places, and locations nobody else dared to visit. And yet Victor isn't simply traumatized. He's connected. He knows where objects appear. He senses changes before anyone else. He remembers places others forget. Sometimes it feels less like Victor understands the town, and more like the town understands Victor.
Why?
Because prolonged exposure changes the relationship. Not into friendship, into dependency. The town may have spent decades shaping him without him ever realizing it. Now think about Boyd. Every journey outside leaves him carrying something invisible back into town. Not just physical injuries. Ideas. Visions. Voices. Questions. Each expedition changes his behavior in subtle ways. He becomes more desperate, more isolated, more willing to believe impossible things. Almost every major decision Boyd makes comes after spending significant time beyond the town's ordinary boundaries. That pattern keeps repeating. The writers could easily ignore it. Instead, they highlight it again and again.
Why?
Because they're quietly teaching us a rule they've never spoken out loud. The longer you're exposed, the deeper the town gets inside you. Notice something else. The forest never feels empty. Even in complete silence, characters constantly behave as though something is watching. Not necessarily a creature. Something older. Something patient. Camera angles reinforce this feeling. Long, lingering shots through branches. Wide frames where nobody appears to be there. Moments where characters instinctively turn around, even though nothing is visible. The audience assumes it's building suspense. But what if those scenes are literal? What if someone or something is always observing who spends time outside after sunrise? Because observation is the first step toward transformation. And if that's true, then every daytime journey has been an experiment. Every walk through the forest has been exposure. Every hour spent under the sun has been another layer of the town taking hold. Most fans ask one question. Why don't the monsters attack during the day? But maybe we've been asking the wrong question from the beginning. Maybe the better question is this. Why would the town need monsters when daylight can accomplish something even more permanent? Because killing someone ends their story. Changing someone allows the town to keep writing it. And once you see that possibility, every peaceful morning in from suddenly becomes far more terrifying than the night itself. If this theory is true, then the monsters are only the distraction. The real danger isn't what comes out after dark. It's what stays behind when the sun rises. And this is where everything we thought we understood about from begins to fall apart. The town doesn't need to trap people with walls. It traps them by changing the way they think. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Every time someone spends enough time exploring, searching, or trying to escape during the day, they don't simply return with new information. They return with a different state of mind. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern. And patterns are how From hides its biggest truths. Take Jade. When he first arrives, he's logical. Arrogant, yes, but driven by facts. He believes every mystery has an answer if you study it long enough. Then something starts happening. Not overnight. Not after a monster attack. During the days. The symbols begin appearing. The visions become impossible to ignore. He starts chasing connections that no one else can see. Some viewers say Jade is simply losing his mind. But what if that's exactly what the town wants us to believe? Because if Jade were only hallucinating, why do his discoveries repeatedly lead to real places, real objects, and real revelations? His visions aren't random. They're directional. Someone or something is feeding him pieces of a puzzle. But here's what changes everything. What if the puzzle isn't meant to be solved? What if it's meant to reshape the person solving it? Every symbol Jade follows pulls him deeper into the town's story. Every answer creates 3 new questions. Every breakthrough makes him more obsessed. That's not the behavior of someone finding freedom. That's the behavior of someone becoming part of the system. And this is where it gets darker. Look at Tabitha. She refuses to stop searching. She digs. She explores. She follows impossible clues beneath the town. She enters places that shouldn't exist. Again and again, she spends her days chasing the truth. Eventually, reality itself begins to break around her. She experiences places that ignore normal rules. She sees things that no ordinary person should ever see. Many fans treat these moments as supernatural rewards. But what if they're actually stages of infection? Not a disease of the body, a disease of perception. The town doesn't force you to believe. It slowly changes what you're capable of seeing. Once that happens, there's no going back. Think about Victor. Everyone assumes Victor survived because he was lucky. But surviving for decades inside From isn't luck. It's adaptation. Victor understands rules that nobody taught him. He instinctively avoids certain places. He reacts to changes before anyone else notices them. His drawings don't feel like memories anymore. They feel like messages. Almost as if the town is communicating through him. Now ask yourself a terrifying question. Did Victor preserve the drawings? Or did the town preserve Victor because it needed someone to record its story? That's not the real mystery. The real mystery is why the town keeps certain people alive while others disappear almost immediately. The monsters kill without mercy. Yet somehow, specific people continue surviving impossible situations. Victor.
Boyd. Jade.
Tabitha.
Ethan.
Even when death seems inevitable, something changes. Almost as if another force intervenes.
Why?
Because maybe these people aren't random survivors. Maybe they're long-term projects. The town isn't protecting them. It's cultivating them. Think about how often the series introduces impossible guidance. Children appearing where they shouldn't. Voices leading characters into dangerous places. Dreams revealing symbols before anyone understands them. Trees moving. Roads changing. Weather arriving at exactly the wrong moment. None of these events feel accidental anymore. They feel coordinated, like individual moves in a much larger strategy. And who benefits from that strategy? Not the monsters. The monsters never seem curious. They don't investigate. They don't ask questions. They simply hunt. That means someone else is directing the game. Someone with patience. Someone who doesn't care how many years it takes. Someone who understands that changing a person's mind is far more valuable than taking their life. This is the detail everyone missed. Notice how often the town rewards curiosity. Characters searching for answers usually discover something real. A hidden chamber. A mysterious object. A forgotten location. An impossible vision. The town doesn't stop them from investigating. It encourages them.
Why?
Because every discovery pulls them deeper into its design. It's the perfect trap. If you know nothing, you'll stay alive but remain powerless. If you search for answers, you'll become obsessed. Either way, the town wins. And then there's Ethan. At first glance, Ethan seems like an innocent child trying to survive. But children often understand the rules from faster than adults.
Why?
Adults fight the impossible. Children accept it. Ethan listens to stories. He trusts symbols. He follows strange ideas without questioning them. Instead of resisting the town, he naturally speaks its language. That's incredibly unsettling. Because if the town truly changes people through prolonged exposure, children would adapt faster than anyone else. Not because they're stronger, because they're more open, more flexible, more willing to believe. And belief may be the town's greatest weapon. Suddenly, every fairy tale Ethan tells feels less like imagination and more like training. Every strange conversation becomes another lesson. Every impossible event becomes another step toward acceptance. Because once someone accepts the town's reality, they stop fighting it. And that's the moment the transformation is complete. So maybe the question has never been, how do you escape from? Maybe the real question is, how long can you stay inside the town before you stop wanting to leave? Because if the town can erase your need to escape, then it never has to build a prison at all. Now, let's follow this theory to its most terrifying conclusion. If the town changes people during the day instead of simply hunting them at night, then every survivor is living on borrowed time. Not because the monsters will eventually catch them, because the town eventually will. And this is where it gets darker. Throughout the series, we keep expecting one final battle. We imagine Boyd leading the survivors, Jade solving the mystery, Tabitha finding the exit, Victor revealing the last secret. But what if there is never supposed to be a final battle? What if the town doesn't need one? Think about how nature works. A forest doesn't conquer a fallen tree in one day. It slowly covers it with moss, roots, insects, and vines until the tree becomes part of the forest itself. No violence. No explosion. Just slow absorption. Now replace the forest with the town. The same pattern suddenly appears everywhere. The town never rushes. It allows fear to weaken people at night. Then, it lets the daylight reshape whatever is left. Night destroys resistance. Daylight rebuilds identity. That cycle repeats again and again. And that may be the true purpose of the monsters. Not executioners.
Shepherds.
Their attacks keep everyone exhausted, terrified, and emotionally broken. Then, when morning comes, people are too desperate to notice that something else is happening. The monsters don't create the prison. They maintain it. But here's what changes everything. Look at every character who has tried to become the hero. Boyd refuses to surrender. Jade refuses to stop searching. Tabitha refuses to stop digging. Jim refuses to stop questioning. Each one believes determination is the answer. Yet the town seems to anticipate every move before they make it. Whenever they get close to a breakthrough, another mystery appears. Whenever they uncover one truth, two more impossible events replace it. That's not random storytelling. That's controlled escalation. The town isn't reacting. It's guiding them, like a chess player who always stays 3 moves ahead. And this is the detail everyone missed. The town rarely destroys hope completely. Instead, it leaves just enough hope alive to keep people moving. Because hope is a better leash than fear. If everyone believed escape was impossible, they would stop exploring. They would stop making choices. The town would stop learning. Instead, every new clue creates another search. Every search creates more exposure. Every day outside creates another opportunity for the town to reshape the people trapped inside it. The cycle continues. Not because the survivors are failing, because they're participating. Now think about Victor one last time. Many fans believe Victor is simply the oldest survivor. But maybe Victor represents something much more disturbing. He is proof that a person can survive for decades without ever truly escaping. His body stayed alive. But how much of Victor still belongs to Victor? His memories are fragmented. His emotions are buried beneath routines. He draws instead of explaining. He remembers in pictures instead of words. It's almost as if the town slowly replaced parts of him without anyone noticing. Not enough to kill him. Just enough to make him useful. Then there's Boyd. Boyd carries responsibility like no one else. He keeps making impossible decisions because everyone depends on him. But responsibility can become another form of control. Every time Boyd chooses to save the town instead of abandoning it, he strengthens his connection to the place he's trying to defeat. The town doesn't need Boyd to love it. It only needs Boyd to keep protecting it. That changes everything. Because the greatest prisoner isn't the one behind locked doors. It's the one who spends every day maintaining the prison. Jade represents another piece of the puzzle. His intelligence is both his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. He believes every mystery has a logical solution. But what if the town feeds on that belief? The more Jade investigates, the deeper he walks into a maze designed specifically for people who cannot stop asking questions. Every symbol becomes another doorway. Every vision becomes another distraction. Every answer becomes another chain. He thinks he's solving the puzzle. The town may be solving him. And then there's Ethan, perhaps the most unsettling character of all. Because Ethan isn't constantly fighting the impossible. He's growing up inside it. Adults compare the town to the world they lost. Ethan may eventually compare the outside world to the town. That difference matters. Children don't just survive environments. They become products of them. If this theory is correct, Ethan isn't the town's next victim. He may become its next guardian. Someone who understands its language better than anyone before him. Someone who doesn't remember life without it. Someone who eventually stops asking to leave. And that's the final piece. We've spent years assuming the town exists to keep people trapped. But maybe trapping people is only the first stage. The real purpose is transformation. The town doesn't collect bodies. It collects identities. Every generation leaves behind people who think differently, remember differently, and see reality differently. Over time, the town creates exactly the kind of people it needs to keep its mystery alive. The monsters protect the system. The forest shapes the mind. The visions rewrite perception. The symbols keep people searching. And the daylight finishes the work that the night begins. So the next time you watch a peaceful morning in From, don't look at the monsters. Look at the survivors. Watch who hesitates before speaking. Watch who suddenly changes direction. Watch who follows a sound no one else hears. Watch who stares into the forest just a little too long. Because the biggest horror in From may have never been dying after sunset. It may have been surviving long enough to watch the sunrise, over and over again, until one morning, the town no longer feels like a prison. It feels like home. And if that day comes, would you even realize you've already lost? Or would you smile, step into the forest, and never feel the need to come back?